Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to the channel. UFC 273 is only a little over a week away, and on the main card of the pay-per-view, we have a highly anticipated welterweight fight between Gilbert Burns and Khamzat Chimaev. I mean, everybody is really looking forward to this fight. Khamzat Chimaev makes his return after dominating Li Jingliang back at UFC 267. Well, I was talking about this fight on the members-only Discord and some circumstances about what might happen with a win by Khamzat Chimaev or a win by Gilbert Burns. And that's where I came up with this idea for this video. And basically, that's a Khamzat Chimaev win at UFC 273 could be an absolute nightmare scenario for Leon Edwards. We're going to get into that in a second, but do me a favor, if you enjoy these videos, make sure to like the video. And if you want to join our members-only Discord, there's a link down in the description. You get a bunch of other benefits, but we're talking about all the latest MMA news there every single day. It's a great community. Feel free to join with the link down below. So first off, I think some of you guys probably already know where I'm going with this, but you have Khamzat Chimaev versus number 2 ranked Gilbert Burns at UFC 273. And most people have said, and I believe, most people believe this is what's going to happen if Khamzat Chimaev is able to get a big win over Gilbert Burns, is that he's next in line for a welterweight title shot. Well, what does that mean for Leon Edwards? Well, supposedly, the UFC is targeting Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman for the welterweight title at UFC 276 or 277. I think both of those pay-per-views are going to be in July, either International Fight Week or the end of July pay-per-view. They're doing 2 July pay-per-views this year. And most people are saying, okay, well, Khamzat Chimaev will fight the winner of that fight. Well, I don't think it's that cut and dry. And you've seen how much bad luck Leon Edwards has had over the course of the past few years. He was supposed to fight Tyron Woodley right after Woodley lost the belt. And because of unforeseen circumstances with the world going into the, the hell that it was in at that point in time, you had Leon Edwards lose the fight against Woodley. You had Gilbert Burns step in and defeat Woodley. And essentially that earned Gilbert Burns a title shot because at that point in time, Woodley wasn't considered completely washed, and he was only 1 fight removed from losing the title. So Gilbert Burns earned a shot. He was supposed to fight Usman over the summer. He fell out of that fight. Jorge Masvidal stepped in on short notice and fought Usman, and then eventually Gilbert Burns finally got his shot in February of the following year. Well, anyway, in the meantime, Leon Edwards was being forced to fight an unranked guy in Khamzat Chimaev. And, there was some back and forth, but finally Leon Edwards accepted it for December of 2020. He was supposed to fight him, even though he was unranked. It's very unheard of that we ever see a guy, I think Leon Edwards was ranked number 2 or 3 at the time, fighting an unranked guy. But Leon Edwards eventually, accepted the fight, whatever it was between the UFC taking him out of the rankings, putting him back in. He accepted the fight. Well, unfortunately, and I was really looking forward to that fight, Khamzat Chimaev, actually the first fight in December, Leon Edwards pulled out of. Well, they rescheduled the fight for January, a month later, and Khamzat Chimaev pulled out of that fight. Then they decided to reschedule it again for March, and Khamzat Chimaev pulled out of the fight again. So Leon Edwards, just ultra bad luck. Then he decides to fight Nate Diaz at UFC 263. Or no, after, Bilal Muhammad stepped in on short notice after the second pullout by Khamzat. He accidentally eye pokes Bilal Muhammad in a fight that he's winning. It ends up going to a no contest. Bilal Muhammad can't continue. So then Leon Edwards accepts a fight with Nate Diaz. And this was kind of a weird fight because I believe the UFC kind of booked this fight to elevate Leon Edwards' name a little bit. A lot of people have been the knock on him has been nobody knows who he is. So Nate Diaz being the big superstar he is, people thought, okay, Leon Edwards can go out there, beat the crap out of Nate Diaz, and elevate his star power a little bit. And that's not what happened. Leon Edwards won for 4.5 rounds, beat up Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz rocks him in the last minute, and the entire fight is remembered as Nate Diaz almost finished him in the 5th round. Then Leon Edwards, is kind of talking about getting a title shot, and then he accepts a fight with Jorge Masvidal. A lot of people wanted to see this fight. A lot of people were complaining that Leon Edwards doesn't deserve a title shot. He should have to fight someone. And he said, you know what? I'm not waiting until 2022 to fight Jorge Masvidal. I'll fight him this year, but I'm not waiting. If I'm waiting until next year, I want to fight for the title. So he accepts the fight with Jorge Masvidal, which would have been a massive fight. and then Jorge Masvidal pulls out of that fight, only to then end up fighting, 2 months later, basically, in against Colby Covington at UFC 272. So he pulls out of the fight with an injury, fights 2 months later. I don't know, there could be a conspiracy theory there. I don't know. So Leon Edwards has had terrible luck. But Dana White has said, we are giving Leon Edwards the next welterweight title shot against Kamaru Usman. But that is not official yet. That has not been announced, that the contracts have not been signed. And here's my fear for Leon Edwards with the stroke of bad luck that he's had for the past 2 years. If Khamzat Chimaev can go out there and starch Gilbert Burns in impressive fashion like he's done all his other opponents, he could easily get the next title shot. The UFC knows what kind of star power Khamzat Chimaev brings. That's why they booked him unranked against Leon Edwards 3 times. They were desperate to book that fight because if Khamzat Chimaev was able to win that fight, they were going to give him a title shot. And the reason they're matching him up with Gilbert Burns, 1, it's a fun fight. It's a fight the fans want to see. But 2, if he beats Gilbert Burns, a number 2 ranked guy in the division, nobody can say, oh, this guy is getting gifted a title shot. He's got Dana White privilege. He went out there and beat the number 2 guy. And if he goes out there and beats the number 2 guy, you can start making a case that he could deserve it more than Leon Edwards. And I've been a person who has defended Leon Edwards' title shot and saying, he's most deserving. When you look, Kamaru Usman has beaten everyone else. He's beaten Burns. He's beaten Colby twice. He's beaten Jorge twice. There's nobody else outside of Leon Edwards that deserves it more, even though Leon Edwards, technically he's on a 9-fight win streak, but I guess you got that no contest in there, but you get the point. He hasn't lost in his last 10 fights. You start looking at some of those names, and the best name on it is Vicente Luque, but that was 5 years ago. Vicente Luque was nowhere near what he is today. So you start picking apart that win streak. You got Donald Cerrone, Gunnar Nelson. I mean, the Rafael Dos Anjos win is pretty good, but the win streak isn't very good. And you can start to say, well, you know what? Why should this guy get a title shot coming off a win against Nate Diaz versus the guy who's been destroying all his opponents? He beat Li Jingliang, who was ranked number 10 or 11 at the time, and now he's defeated the number 2 ranked guy in the world in Gilbert Burns, who was a very tough test. And now the fans are going to be demanding Khamzat Chimaev versus Kamaru Usman. If he beats Gilbert Burns, everybody, and I mean everybody, is going to want to see Khamzat Chimaev fight for the belt. The media is going to want it. The fans are going to want it. Pretty much everybody's going to want it. And the UFC is going to think to themselves, well, I can make more money booking Kamaru Usman versus Khamzat Chimaev than I can make for Usman versus, Leon Edwards too. They'll say, oh, Usman already has a win over him. He hasn't beat a ranked guy in forever, because he doesn't have a win. Vicente Luque, I think, is the only win over a ranked opponent who's currently ranked. Dos Anjos is no longer at welterweight. So, I think that's the only ranked opponent in his 9-fight win streak. And if Khamzat Chimaev beats Gilbert Burns, you can make the case that he's more deserving. And if Khamzat goes out there and starches Gilbert Burns at UFC 273, which a lot of people think he will, but it is a big if, and the fight's not official, I would not be surprised if the UFC decides, let's leapfrog Leon Edwards and let's give Khamzat Chimaev the fight. This is the fight the fans want. This is the fight. I could already imagine Dana White saying that. The kid's done everything we've ever asked of him. And Leon Edwards could get screwed again. And I can't say I would necessarily disagree with it. I would feel bad for Leon. I think Leon should get the next shot. And then the winner of that fight then fights Khamzat Chimaev. But we've seen the UFC promise title shot after title shot to different guys and then go back on it. Leon Edwards, how many times has Dana White said Leon Edwards is next in line? Probably 10 times, and other fights have happened. Just the worst luck ever for Leon Edwards. So I think it is very possible. And imagine they finally give it to Leon and he gets some type of injury, a month or 2 out. Oh my God, he would never get a title shot again. I think it's very possible Khamzat Chimaev steals the title shot from Leon Edwards at UFC 273. Especially considering it's not official. Fight contracts have not been signed. Kamaru Usman had surgery recently. They're not 100% sure when he's going to return. There's just so many variables. And I would not be confident that Leon Edwards is definitely getting the next shot. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to like the video, and thank you so much for watching.